more can I say?
Top Billin.
All right, Top Billin, I want to talk about the happenings of the Florida Gators program. I've seen a ton of comments on my channel dealing with the hacker, Dan Mullen, and people wanting him to go and thinking he's not the answer and everything. And I've just been sitting back thinking about it this week and going over a whole bunch of different scenarios that I want to go over with you guys right here and really see where you guys are at on this, at least the people who are on my channel here, at least the people who are there frequently. Now, I want to start right here with this particular article. Somebody sent me this article, and this is why I don't think most of these dudes in the media are that talented. This is the Alex Scarborough dude, the normal Florida Gators writer for ESPN, or he's the SEC writer or something. I don't know. I don't read these dudes. These dudes to me are not that good. These dudes are fans disguised as professional media members. Now, coming from somebody who came from the professional media ranks, working at a myriad of places like SB Nation, Bleacher Report, Saturday Down South, Rivals, and everything like that, you cannot be a fan and base your shit on what fans say. You're the professional. Fans are fans. They're not rational. Let's talk about Dan Mullen and this Emory Jones stuff right here. He said for weeks he chose to stick by Emory Jones at quarterback, laughing off questions about whether he'd remain a starter, even as the career backup threw 9 interceptions and only once passed for more than 250 yards in a game. Now look how he frames that. He will name the 9 interceptions, right? But then he'll come and talk about the guy that everyone likes, Anthony Richardson here, who has looked like a young Cam Newton with 8 touchdowns and limited action. The freshman didn't appear to be ready, throwing no touchdowns and a pair of interceptions against Georgia. So that's how you frame some shit as a fan. Think about this. Emory Jones does have 9 interceptions. He also has 10 touchdowns. I believe he has a couple of rushing touchdowns. He has 3 rushing touchdowns, actually. So he didn't do that. He said 8 touchdowns for Anthony Richardson, but he didn't specify that a few of those were rushing touchdowns. Emory Jones also has a few rushing touchdowns here, 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but he's completing 68% of his passes. 68% of his passes. He also has 517 yards rushing. It's not like he's a stiff or something like that. This is how you frame stuff for people, and you're framing it for people who are not rational. Now, I will show you why they're not rational here after this. My man Anthony Richardson here, right? 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He is completing 58% of his passes. Well, how much different is that from what Emory Jones is doing? You don't think Dan Mullen understands football more than us guys out here, whether it be me in the media or a fan sitting at home on his couch? Think about that. That makes no sense. If you come in and make splash plays against competition that's not prepared for you to make those splash plays, it's a lot different than having to be game planned against, which Emory Jones is, right? He's game planned against. He has enough film now as a starter to where they're game planning against him. So we got to see Georgia game plan against AR-15, who played a lot in the LSU game. They took away a lot of those easy throws that I had pointed out before, the cut and dry reads, and made him have to go through progressions, which he wasn't. He was staring down, and we saw the results of that. Now, to me, Anthony Richardson is one of these guys, like, what happened to just waiting your turn? If you're sitting there right here as a Florida fan thinking the Gators were going to win the national championship this season, prior to the season, slap yourself. Because you know damn well that wasn't going to happen. Be realistic. You lost way too much talent, and you don't recruit at that level for it to just be one of those reload type of things. You knew this year was going to be one of those years. So Emory Jones, the culmination of him waiting around with all those guys, this should have been his year, and maybe AR-15 unseats him next year, just like Tua Tagovailoa did Jalen Hurts. Why all of a sudden this man gets 4 or 5 starts and he's trash Dookie and AR-15 should start? I hate that shit. That shit really does make me not like college football, because guess what all you guys were saying about Emory Jones this time last year? So prior to the season, February 8th and July 26th, I did the content items on Kyle Trask, and guess what? A lot of the damn comments were about Emory Jones. Ain't that funny? I'm trying to tell all these people that Kyle Trask is going to have a phenomenal year. He just needed reps. And every time I would do that, these were the comments for the most part. Listen, I just hope Emory Jones doesn't transfer because he's going to be nasty when he gets the chance. Oh, really? Then you've got to follow. I really think this season will be more like Tebow and Leak. Then my man said, yeah, don't see why he would, though. Trask, a senior, he'd still have 2 years to start. If Jones is smart, he'll be patient. If he's smart, he'll be patient, but the fans can't be patient with him. 4 or 5 games into him actually starting, then he's the pariah. Look, I think he's getting too much hype. We have no clue if he can do anything as a starter. The fans want to hype him like they do every backup. We finally got Trask after everyone crying. Now they all want silly Jones. So that's a rational comment, at least, right? Listen, I suspect Mullen will keep the competition open this offseason. If he's going to transfer, it's going to be after the spring. And the only foreseeable reason he do that is because Trask is that far ahead of him. If the fall rolls around and he hasn't transferred, it wouldn't make much sense to transfer unless Anthony Richardson passes him, which I doubt. Yeah. I think Emory is brought in hard to the system. Emory's going to be a unit when he gets the reins. Listen, this dude sums it up. We've all wanted Emory to play since Dan flipped him from Ohio State. Not many people were happy that he put Trask in over Emory during the Kentucky game, but by season's end, we all realized why. And why did you realize why? Because the hacker knows more about football than all of us combined. You don't think he knows that Emory Jones is the better option right now over Anthony Richardson? Richardson is just not there yet, and you don't want to have him have his confidence taken away going against guys who are game planning for him. And you guys talk about recruiting. Think about it. You guys faking the funk out there. Your link to recruiting is usually getting third-hand information from some weak-ass message board. Come on, you guys know the spill. Your boy here has been in the trenches with a lot of these kids or connected to a lot of these kids or people who are directly connected to a lot of these kids. You want to recruit better? Show a little patience. Don't be out there booing your kids. Them playing Emory Jones, him waiting around to get a shot. To me, that's perfect. That's how you show future recruits that you're about the program, the players in the program, and not necessarily about what the people say in the media or the media themselves who are pretty much fans. Check this out. Your man continued. Meanwhile, defensive coordinator Todd Grantham's performance lingers over what's left of the season. Grantham, who has been the subject of fans' ire for years, nicknaming him Third and Grantham for his failure to come up with stops on third downs, is one of the highest paid assistants in college football, earning more than $1.5 million per year. Remember, this is just media criticism, so obviously Todd Grantham has to go. I already said that on a previous content item, but my man, what do the fans have to do with anything? Fans are not rational. They love Emory Jones before last season. 4 or 5 games into his entire career starting, he's trash Duke. All right, here's my next point. So I'm starting to see people call for Dan Mullen's job. Okay, you know what? Whatever, that's cool. That's what fans are going to do. So I remarked that, hey, call for his job. I'm a Virginia Tech fan. I would take Dan Mullen at Virginia Tech right now. It would be hard. I know he's going to fill a good offense, and he doesn't have to have the pressure of recruiting like his guys at Georgia or Alabama, which he's just not going to do. So I have a couple of things on that. I even have some insider information from some really good sources that can tell me about, or that had told me about, what's wrong with Florida in recruiting. But I will read this right here. So one of the names that's been mentioned a couple of times, and this was actually mentioned from a Georgia person. So a person from Georgia here, Micah, he said that they need to fire Mullen and go as hard as possible after Mel Tucker yesterday. Mullen is a terrible recruiter, which is no secret. He makes stupid excuses and will never be able to consistently build a program at a school with expectations of UF. Okay, so he says that Mel Tucker is all the rage right now because of what he's doing at Michigan State, and rightfully so. Mel Tucker is a very good football coach, but Mel Tucker is what Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State, except Dan Mullen was doing that 5 and 6 years into his Mississippi State tenure where all the pieces there was of his own doing. He had those guys as the number one team in the nation. We all heard that spiel before, in a loaded SEC West where he knocked off some really good teams with a whole bunch of NFL talent on it, just like Mel Tucker has done this particular season, although his biggest games are yet to come with Penn State and Ohio State still left on their schedule. But regardless, even if he loses those two games, he is tried and true. He did a good job at Michigan State this year. But he was 2-5 last year, and he was 5-7 his first season at Colorado, which is his first season ever as a head coach, at least on that level. So think about that. How do you know that Mel Tucker is a better coach than Dan Mullen? Is he a better recruiter? I'm going to say yes, because he's recruited kids that I've worked with. He is a very good recruiter because he's relentless. But he was recruiting to Alabama and Georgia. Those kids did not care about Mel Tucker. They cared about the shininess of Alabama and Georgia. Alabama and Georgia are still recruiting at the top 1 and 2 without Mel Tucker. And they will continue to do that without all of those assistants that's come through both of those programs, because they are what's happening right now in college football. That has nothing to do with Mel Tucker. Now, he is relentless, but guess what? Your recruiters, this is what was told to me by somebody who I respect highly that knows recruiting like you wouldn't believe. He says the head coach portion of this is overblown. It's about having dog recruiters at position coaches. Your position coaches do the majority of your recruiting, and you need dogs there. This particular source told me that Florida does not have any dogs on the staff because he feels, and everyone knows, that recruiting is a young man's game. Tim Brewster has been a good recruiter in the past. There are guys out there that are just younger than Tim Brewster, maybe more hipper, maybe more relentless with their recruiting. But if we say anything, he will be probably the tops on that staff. He doesn't think there's a blue chip recruiter on the staff, even with Tim Brewster being there, if we're talking about present day. Now, I had to sit back there and think like, damn, I know Wesley McGriff is on that staff and guys like that. And he was like, nope. Go look at some of these staffs that are recruiting relentlessly and look at some of the young guys that they have out there that are pounding the pavement and hitting that. He said Dan Mullen would be fine because he's a great teacher and he's understands how to play offensive football. He agreed that Grantham has to go, but he thinks that they need dog recruiters and better position coaches as far as recruiting goes. That's just what a source tells me there. So you guys can run with that the way you want, but I tend to agree with that. So I was like, man, I wonder where Michigan State is at in the composite. And right now they are 46th. So is Mel Tucker killing it without the Georgia or Alabama logo on his chest when he goes to talk to kids? Now, of course, Michigan State is not going to be able to recruit at the level of Florida, so I'm not dumb. That's not an apples-to-apples comparison. However, you can see that it's not easy recruiting. Even a guy that you think is a dog like Mel Tucker, who has had some really good recruits, but don't remember, those guys were recruited to Alabama and Georgia. Go look at where Alabama and Georgia is at right now, and I don't think it matters if Mel Tucker is there. There's Alabama, number 1. Here's Georgia, number 4. So I know that, look, Florida's number 12. So you say if you put Mel Tucker and give him the resources of Florida, would he be able to recruit and coach better than Dan Mullen? Chances are, man, maybe he could. Maybe let's just say he could. But if you think that, what about the stuff that Dan Mullen has done well? Look at his record. I'm not a Florida fan, so I don't really pay attention to it that closely as outside of the stuff that I do with the film study stuff. But I was looking at Dan Mullen's record, and I was surprised. 10 and 11 wins to start his tenure, and I know what people do. If they don't like you, they will give your success to your predecessor. But if they do like you, they will not give the predecessor any type of compliments at all of what they did. So everyone hated Jim McElwain, and he took some guys that I thought were complete busts, like a Kadarius Toney, and made him into a first-round pick. This guy can coach up players. That's what he does. Maybe he's not the greatest recruiter. He's not, all right? We don't have to say maybe on that. I was told he's very awkward, but I was also told they feel very confident that he could coach up their kid and get him to the NFL on the offensive side of the ball. So 10 wins, 11 wins last year. You can see last year he had a damn good team. And don't try to pretend like before the season I was saying that Florida was going to be very good, and people were telling me they weren't going to be that good with the loss of Van Jefferson, more Swain, please, and all of those guys that they lost previously. The edge players that they had that they brought in on a one-year rental, Jabari Zuniga and people like that. So I don't know what to tell you, right? It did end up really bad with the 8-4, but that game against Alabama will go down in history. That was a damn good game there. And, of course, he had the unfortunate loss to LSU. And this year should be a rebuilding year if you combine the previous 2 years with who they lost and then how they've recruited. That's one of those would probably have to recruit at a top 5 level to be able to just reload. So, hey. If y'all love it, I like it. It's all good. If Dan Mullen is not the guy for the job, send that man to Virginia Tech. But I just wanted to take the temperature of the fan base and see what you guys are thinking about right here on a Friday. So it's a little food for thought Friday going through this here. Let me know what you think about Mullen in the comment section. I know you guys going to do it anyway, and I really already know what most of you think anyway. So it is what it is. But thank you for rocking with your boy, man. Thanks to everybody who sends in that quality support. Those of you who have done that, you keep the lights on and keep me talking about the Florida Gators, since you guys want to hear my thoughts on the Gators. So make sure you send in that quality support and we can keep it going. All right, it's your boy Murf, the Underground King, top Billin Sports, and I am out. Peace.
What more can I say?
Top Billin.